Variations and graphing rationals. This is the first lesson, and it's on variations, direct, inverse, and joint. Now, you've seen direct and inverse previously in Algebra 1. By the end of this, you should be able to identify a direct, inverse, or joint variation, write the equation for a situation involving a direct, inverse, or joint variation, identify the constant of variation in a direct, inverse, or joint variation, and solve problems involving direct, inverse, and joint variations. Let's get started. First up, a quick review of direct variation. When we talk about direct variation, we're talking about a relationship where as x increases, y increases or decreases at a constant rate. Direct variation is linear. Now, direct variation is pretty straightforward. Direct variation uses the following formula. y1 over x1 is equal to y2 over x2. And, oh, by the way, this y1 over x1 is equal to y2 over x2 is equal to k, also known as the constant of variation or the constant of proportionality. Now, a couple of examples. If y varies directly as x and y equals 10 as x equals 2.4, find x when y equals 15. What x and y go together? Well, hopefully you know that this x and this y go together. This y goes with some unknown x. So, y equals 10, x equals 2.4. You make those y1 and x1. Y equals 15 and x equals, don't know. Make these y2 and x2. Now, set it up, just like we saw, just as a proportion. 10 divided by 2.4 is equal to 15 divided by x. Now what? Now you simply cross multiply and divide. Okay, 10x is equal to 36. X equals 3.6. Boom. Now, the only other thing here is if you want k, the constant of variation, k is equal to 10 divided by 2.4. Well, we don't usually leave decimals inside of fractions, and since we were given a decimal, what we'll do is we'll just do 10 divided by 2.4 is equal to 4.16, repeating. Okay, we could also do 100 divided by 24 and then just get the fraction, which would be, well, let's say it's either that or 25 over 6. Whoops, that's terrible 6. So that's my constant of variation. If I want my equation, that would be y equals, I need my constant, 25 over 6x. Now I can plug in x or y and solve for the other one. Again, this is k. That's what I want to know when I ask you for k. This is the equation. And then this is when I want you to solve for one of the variables. Next up, try another. If y varies directly with x and y equals 12 when x equals 2, find y when x equals 8. Give it a try. Pause the video. You back? Great. Set it up, cross multiply, solve for y. Pretty straightforward, yes? Okay, and remember that in this case, k is equal to 6, y equals 6x. This is the equation. This is the constant of proportionality or constant of variation. Depends on what you want to call it. According to the SOL people, they can call it either thing, and you need to know what it is. All right, now on to inverse variation. Inverse is similar to direct, but an inverse relationship, as one value goes up, the other goes down. There is not necessarily a constant rate. Inverse variation is not linear. Direct variation is linear and goes through the origin. One real quick thing, when you look back at that, remember that the other one was y equals kx. K is essentially the slope. The y-intercept is the origin. Here, inverse variation does not go through the origin, and we'll see why in just a second. Whoops. Here we go. With direct variation, we divide our x's and y's to get the k's. So our constant of variation is equal to y divided by x. With inverse variation, we multiply them. The constant of variation for inverse variation is equal to x1, y1, or x2, y2, and they should always equal the same. Let's see an example. If y varies inversely with x and y equals 12 when x equals 2, find y when x equals 8. Well, remember that x1, y1 equals x2, y2. So I multiply these two together and these two together, and then I solve for my unknown. I have 2 times 12 is equal to 8y. That means that 24 is equal to 8y, and therefore y must be equal to 3. In this case, the constant of variation is equal to 24, and this is going to be y equals 24 divided by x is my equation, or xy equals 24. I'll take that either way. Next up, if y varies inversely as x and x equals 18 when y equals 6, find y when x equals 8. Well, they vary inversely, so that means I'm going to multiply them. These two go together. This goes with a y that is an unknown. So first, I set it up, and then I solve. 108 equals 8y, y is equal to 13.5. The constant k is equal to 108. The equation is y equals 108, or y is equal to 108 divided by x. Either one works. What does the graph of xy equals k look like? Well, let k equal 5, and here we have the graph. Notice when x is 5, y is 1. When x is 1, y is 5. That gives me my curve. I can do the same thing with the negatives. That gives me a couple of points, and I can draw the curve. The curve approaches the axes, but doesn't cross them. What would happen if k were negative? Well, what would happen? Think about it. You can't have that, can you? Ooh. Now, joint or combined variation. A joint or combined variation combines direct and inverse variations in more complicated relationships. Y varies directly with the square of x. Now, it says direct, but it's not just y and x, it's y and x squared, because there's x times x. It's not direct, it's a joint. Y varies directly with the cube of x. Y equals k x cubed. Again, direct says y equals k times something. Z varies jointly with x and y. Jointly says it's the same thing as direct, just different variable names. I would just use direct if I'm saying cubed or squared. I say jointly when it's different variables. Y varies jointly with x and y and inversely with w. Well, varies directly with the xy, inversely, so it goes in the bottom, w. Y varies directly with x and inversely with the product of w and y. There's direct with x, inverse with w and y. This is a good one to just go back to make sure that you can write these from the words. So, some time to practice. I'll go through these first two, and then on the ensuing pages, I'll pause for a second so you can stop the video, you try them, and then check your answers. Here, variable m varies directly with p. Well, m varies directly with p. You're going to write that m varies directly, or varies, m equals k. Directly means I'm going to multiply it. So I set it up, I plug numbers in, and I solve. I write the formula, find the constant, set up the equation, and I solve. Now here, r varies inversely with t, so I do over t. Now again, same idea. I write my formula, I find the constant, and then I rewrite the equation. Here's the equation, and I solve for the variable I'm looking for. Okay? Think you've got it? You're going to write the formula, find the constant, find the new value. Those are your 3 steps. Write the formula, FCV, formula constant value. Okay, I'll pause, take a look at these. All right, you should be back. Remember, when I take that little bit of a pause, that's so that you can stop the video, do the work, and then you can come back and look at it. The pause is just so you've got a chance to find and pause. Okay. Remember, varies jointly is like direct, but it means you've got multiple variables. So y equals kpq. Fill in what you know, find the constant, solve for the one you don't know. Next, you've got inversely. So you know it's going to be v equals k over the p. Find the constant and find the new value. Here's the next 2. Pause the video. Let's check it out. Now here, make sure that you're paying attention to words like the square of m. That's where you get this guy up here. If you don't pay attention to that, you're going to get the wrong answer. Down here, we have our lifespan of our gerbil. Let's see, does it apply to people? Yeah, I hope not. If we're only supposed to live 17.5 years, I'm in deep trouble. Now, try some joint and combined variation problems. Some of those were already joint and combined. But this is going to be with both direct and inverse. So building a brick wall, the amount of time it takes to complete the wall varies directly with the number of bricks and inversely with the number of bricklayers. So, what does that mean? Directly, time varies directly with the number of bricks. So the more bricks, the more time. And inversely with the number of workers. The more workers, the less time. Makes sense. So now you've got to put it all together. And voila. First you were told 18 hours for 1,200 bricks with 3 workers. Here's your constant of variation. You put that in. Now what happens when you've got, how much time will it take if you've got 5 bricklayers and 4,500 bricks? Well, plugging it all in, it's going to take you just over a week. Try the rest of these. Same idea. Here are 2 more word problems. Pause the video now. Write out the problem. Find the constant. Find the new value. Back so soon? Let's check it out. Doing good? I sure hope so. Okay, down here. And again, notice I've put the words directly and inversely. Y equals kx, that's direct. Y equals k over x, that's inverse. So read it, set it up, write out the formula. Take the time to write the formula and then plug in the values. Oops, there we go, 225 feet. Alrighty. Here's another one. Put her over here. Actually, another 2. Try these out. And again, you're back. Now this first one, a little bit tricky. A ball is dropped from a window of a building. The distance it falls varies directly with the square of the time it falls. If a ball can fall 8 feet in half a second, how far will it fall in 2.5 seconds for it to hit the ground? Okay? The distance it falls varies directly with the square of the time it falls. Distance equals kt squared. Plug it in. The new value, 200 feet. Okay, power plant. Directly with the amount of water and inversely with the temperature of the water. Interesting. We want to find out the power rating produced. The power rating is 51,250. Okay. Summary, direct variation, inverse variation. K is the constant, and it's of proportionality or of variation. Depends on which one they choose to call it. You need to be able to find K. To find K, you just solve for it. You use the direct variation equation, solve for K, inverse variation, solve for K. Up here, for this guy, y divided by x is equal to your K. For this one, x, y is equal to K. And then you should be able to write the equation given a verbal description. This isn't hard, just takes a little bit of attention to detail. Have fun!